Welcome back to the Jagged Edge. We have basically recurring guest, super friend of the pod, Mia O'Brien. Welcome.
When does my t-shirt arrive? Do I get a
Oh
friend of the
boy.
pod t-shirt?
Maybe I'll leave that to someone else to make t-shirts, or at least with the logo. I don't know. So, very tumultuous process over the past week being with the Jags, knowing that it was the NFL draft. How was your weekend? And I'm sorry for day three.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, if nothing else, day three at least finally answered what Jaguar fans were looking for, which was more help on defense. Once we got past that initial awful selection of a inside linebacker coming off of a Jones fracture at 121, it honestly wasn't too bad of a day because then it felt like the Jags finally were like, okay, we actually need an edge rusher. We're actually going to take this Dwan Smoot clone who, we need because we don't know his status coming off an Achilles tear. Oh, we probably need a safety who can drop down and play the slot. Yeah, now we'll address all that. So honestly, as much as it was a long day three, at the same time, the Jaguars did add pieces that I think will have the opportunity to contribute in some form or fashion, even beyond special teams in 2023. And as for all the million sixth and seventh round picks, look, a lot of those cats, they were going to bring them in as camp bodies anyways. You actually can get them on the cheap as seventh round picks because, as we've seen over the course of the last few years with the likes of Luke Barku and EJ Perry, the amount of guaranteed money some undrafted free agents are asking for is more than the guaranteed money seventh round picks make. And so, in essence, it really was a masterclass because now you have those guys for cheaper. And I also still firmly believe the Jaguars, like Trent Baalke alluded to, are not done. While I don't know if a trade for Budda Baker is imminent, I do think they will be signing at least one more veteran pass rusher, whether it's a marquee name or not, remains to be seen, as well as potentially another veteran corner.
All right. Yeah, before we get to draft talk, I'll wait for our friend of the program, Javal, to come on and talk more about that. But the main rumor right now that was circling around all weekend and even prior was Yannick Ngakoue potentially
Mm-hmm.
being that post what was it, 4 p.m. designation. Is it tomorrow for the
Yep.
draft
Mm-hmm.
compensation? So
Yes.
what have you heard about Yannick Ngakoue
Yeah, it's
and
kind of
Jacksonville?
funny. Yeah, so I was here. Obviously, Yannick was traded in 2020. So I had about a season and a half because I got here in September 2018. I had like a season and a half with Jan, and we got along great. Like I never had any issues with Jan. So I'm in favor of him coming back. I thought he was one of the more, well-spoken, fascinating characters in the locker room. And, like the likes of Josh Allen, who pretty much is the only one left from that team in 2019, he'll tell you like Jan was just the type of guy where he came to work, he did the work, he left. Did he tweet through it? Did he fight one player like six times? Yes, he did all those things. But at the end of the day, he would go to war with you, and he cared about the team, and he cared about his family. And who doesn't want to play or work? We could take this out of football. Who doesn't want to work with someone like that and with that sort of passion? To answer your original question, I knew that there would be some, rumblings just by the nature of him being one of the few names left on the market that had 9 sacks last year. But I really did over the last few days being at the bank so much. I did hear definitive smoke. Essentially, Jan wants $10 million, is what I was told. Yeah, and your face kind of says it all. I pitched that subject on my daily show XL Primetime today on 1010XL 92.5 FM, and some of the guys, my co-hosts joked. They were like, "I'd give him 9 million, give him a million per each sack." And I think that if there is to be a deal
You know?
reached, I think it probably will be in that $8 to $9 million ballpark. It doesn't feel like Trent Baalke is going to want to pay him $10 million to be a designated pass rusher. And so I think he is looking more in that ballpark of 6 to 8 million. And so that's where I figure they'll settle between 8 to 9 million.
Yeah, so that's the
If
thing
a deal is
though.
to get done with Jacksonville, because let's be real, like I said, as much as Jan, yeah, people knock him for he's undersized, he struggles on run defense. Like dudes that had 9 sacks last year and like average 6.5 sacks a year and four forced fumbles, like they're not just walking out in the middle of the street. Like they are hard to find.
And if you do want to continue to be contenders or prime contenders, especially in a division where quarterbacks are running or the conference has running rampant with quarterbacks, I think getting that designated pass rusher, which is our biggest need still, I think after the draft, someone like a Yannick Ngakoue would be absolutely perfect if he did decide to come back to Jacksonville. You know,
Right,
despite
exactly.
Since it's funny, I got that AEW poster, it's like the pro wrestling business.
Apparently,
Yeah.
Tony said he's good. Tony said he'll bury the hatchet. He said they're good. So
There
it's
should
been
be a
3 years.
handshake picture between Tony and
I
Yannick, and be the
honestly,
most retweeted picture from Jaguars fans in a bit. I think it'd
I
be
need an
funny.
edit of it.
Yeah, I
I
know.
think Tony would do it. I'm not sure if Jan would do it, unfortunately.
I don't know. It'd be great for social media engagement and everyone being back on board. Hell yeah, we're back, or some stupid stuff like that.
Wouldn't
Honestly.
that be funny? I was thinking about that on my drive to work this morning. After all the smoke of will Calais come back? If you had told me 2 months ago, instead we end up with Jan, like
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
It's just like what the yeah, I was like, what the hell? How did this happen? I mean, it just came out of nowhere, and I just thought about like, you know what? It makes way too much sense not
I
to
mean, he's
really
28 years
have him.
old. He's in the prime of his career. Why not?
Yeah, and then you can have just a defensive versatility in itself with Allen and Trevon Walker. If you want to put Roy Robinson Harris or even Devon Hamilton on pass rushing situations, whatever you want to do, switching back to the 4-3, which has been rumored all off season, it'd be perfect. They're legit perfect for that role.
Yeah, I think the big thing, and I've been talking about this with a lot of people, is that Jaguar fans need to embrace the fact that both on offense and defense, the Jaguars are trying to like play chess when everyone else is playing checkers, and they want to go positionless. Like they view themselves as we are fielding a basketball team in 2023 on a football field, and we can have 7-foot guys. Yes, we can have 7-foot guys bring the ball up the court, or in this case, go get the passer just as much as we can have 5-foot guys do it, because we have all these athletic freaks that come at you from multiple angles on the field, and that's how we're going to run it. And I think the same is being said for their offense. And when we get into the draft picks, I think the selection of Brenton Strange like scared a lot of people at first, but when you consider what he affords you, and then when you also consider, well, certainly it's a pass first offense, like Tank Bigsby is essentially a more athletic James Robinson, which is what this team wanted pre-Achilles injury. And so that's where I think he fills that void. I think he'll take a lot of wear and tear off of Travis Etienne because he'll pick up the slack in between the tackles. And hell, I mean, they drafted a fullback in the 7th round, and like you're like a 7th round fullback, he ain't making the team. He may make the team because he also is he had what 9 sacks last year, I think, at Houston or something like that. And because he's also a defensive lineman, and moreover, as a fullback, then you're also taking wear and tear off of Travis Etienne. And then also Doug probably is going to draw up some wacky play that he stole from Kyle Shanahan. Like, yeah. I'm just saying, like, that is what I came away from the 2023 Jaguars NFL draft. Like, that was my perspective is Doug wants to go play mad scientist because they're bringing back 21 of 22 starters. And so they're essentially just going to use these other picks to get weird for both him and Mike Caldwell.
Yeah, when I was looking back at the draft recap because I work overnights and I was sleeping throughout that, well, after the 4th round, basically 5 to 7, I was asleep. I looked at who the Jaguars picked and was like, edge fullback. What the hell is going? Like what?
Oh, and it went up on the screen. Like we all thought it was a misprint. No, it was not a misprint.
They legit listed him as edge and fullback, or what did they put on the card? Is that
special teams ace as well? Which I had a lot of people text in today on our radio show, and they were like, "It's core 4, it's not core 14, Trent," and they're not wrong there. But I just get the vibe that this staff and this front office truly believes that, like we saw with Jawan Taylor playing an elite season because he had in their opinion, because he had to compete for his starting role, they believe competition will breed success, and that is how they're going to find the answer to the remaining holes they have.
I think so too, especially during that slot corner position. I remember, was it Friday where it's like, oh yeah, this core cornerback group got us to what 9-10 wins last year, but also I don't know if sticking with Trey Herndon at slot or even Darius Williams at slot is really the best option going forward. So what was that draft pick over there that was basically that kind of slot corner competition going forward?
Yeah, so I want to make sure I say the right names because
they
honestly,
got they have a safety and is in a corner. I don't know which one was supposed to be the
right.
slot
corner. So let's begin with the question that you alluded to because I was the one that asked it. I just said Trent. I was like, I'm not going to try to put you on the spot, but I am. Tyson's corner 1, Darius is corner 2. Who's corner 3? And he goes, well, Trey's still on the team, and we won a lot of games with him as the 3rd. So do with that information what you will. When I asked that question, the Jaguars had only drafted offensive players. And so then the next day, they begin by drafting, wait for it, a hurt linebacker, because of course they did.
Yeah.
So anyway, so that obviously left a lot to be desired. And then they turn back around, they draft 2 pass rushers, which, yeah, hey, listen, nothing wrong with that. The 2 players you alluded to, Christian Braswell, started his career at Temple, then went to Rutgers. He honestly is like a high upside guy. He's just like an athletic freak who tested really well. And then Eric Hallett's the other guy. He actually is a safety. He's listed as a DB, but definitively, if you ask Matt Hayes, he is a safety. He was the MVP of the 2021 ACC championship game. He also had 9 pass breakups last year. He's had 3 picks each of the last 2 seasons, 2 forced fumbles. Like, the dude has a resume. Like, it's not like he's just some flyer that Tony Khan is like, oh, he's athletic, we're going to draft him and see what happens. So I think he legitimately could be the answer, which is kind of wild to say. And then you consider Antonio Johnson, who, as Trent stressed, like, is a safety first. I mean, eventually he's your Rayshon Jenkins replacement, but in the interim, he's another chess piece for them because he literally could play every position in the secondary. He played every position in the secondary at Texas A&M. 47% of his snaps, though, were in the slot, and he told us when he got drafted, his favorite position to play is the nickel. And so that's why everyone immediately is like, here we go. But they stress that he's a safety. He was a core 4 guy when he was at A&M. He's going to play special teams. Essentially, he'll be your 5th safety, which we saw last year when they cut Jay Tufele, they cut Malcolm Brown. They were trying to stock up in the back end, and they really didn't care what happened in the trenches because that's the way Doug Peterson believes that the NFL is headed to 7-on-7. And that's how they're going to build their roster. And so I think this is another step in the right direction because he could slot in as a linebacker for you. He can drop back. Like, he could kind of do a little bit of everything. And obviously he had a 2nd-round grade per a lot of outlets. And so to get him in the 5th is massive value.
Yeah, there was a lot of those value picks at the past round 4. Yeah, past the Gators linebacker. Sorry, it's the Gators.
I don't understand that. It's the weirdest thing. I don't understand it.
Yeah, like there's some.
And Ventrell's a great kid, and he's
Yeah.
a good player when healthy, but like I just don't understand the fit at all.
Ooh, hold on. We have a surprise for Mr. Where is he? Is he here? Uh-oh. Where is he?
He's connecting.
I know. Live on the spot. Javal, what's up? I got a surprise for you.
Prize guest? No way. Oh man, this is gonna be legendary. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Of course we can hear you.
We actually started. We're just gonna pop up. We're just let you pop in and join the conversation. We were talking about
man.
day 3 picks, but we didn't really go too far into the bread and butter of this draft yet.
I mean, the bread and butter of the draft is the day 3 picks, which how many of them there were. So
that's where the value is. The value.
I was telling Mia before we started, I felt so bad for how long they had to stay because of all the picks.
yeah, I felt bad for all the reporters just having to do all the stories. I know.
Well, are you guys ready for some inside baseball? The real blessing was that, and I didn't even think about this because like I write, but I don't write as much now in my job at 1010. Mike DeRocco just kept saying to me, he was like, for the love of God, my only request, he goes, I'll stay until 7 or 8. That's fine. But do not draft Andre Carter. Because if they draft Andre Carter out of Army, I'm going to have to stay and do this massive profile on him, and I'm not going to get out of here till 10 o'clock. And so at the very least, they didn't take the military pick because then those poor writers would have been there even longer.
Did he get? I don't think he was drafted.
No, undrafted to the Vikings.
I'm actually surprised. I mean, I understand why he fell, but with the amount of picks we had, I mean, I would have given it to Flyer, but
yeah,
at least some strength and conditioning coach is like, okay, we got a year to let him sit. So
right, exactly.
All
Stash
right,
him on the practice squad.
All right, so when Javal is here now, I guess we can just go top to bottom where we started with the draft. And of course, the big one, the 1st-round pick after 2 trade downs, and they went to commercial every single time the Jaguars were on the clock. Right. Continuing, honored tradition.
Honored tradition.
Tradition is Anton Harrison, and we know the big deal is Cam Robinson is going to be suspended for PEDs, so that might have done a lot with the 1st-round pick, don't you think, Mia?
Yeah, I mean, there's an appeal still in place, but I mean, the expectation is Cam most likely will serve some form of a suspension. It's unknown exactly where 4 to 8 range it's going to fall. But he will at the very least, it sounds like, and again, there is an appeal in place, and that's why some of us were waiting to hear exactly the upshot of that appeal, but it sure as heck seems like right now that he will miss those games. But we have to think about this beyond 2023, guys. They were already eyeing Anton Harrison before Cam's suspension. Like, I was hearing about this kid in late February. He was one of the highest offensive tackles on their board. They had a first-round grade on him from the jump. They also had a first-round grade on Matthew Bergeron out of Syracuse, which is why I scared half the timeline into a panic. But no, they liked both those guys over the likes of a DeJuan Jones, who fell to day 3, and even to an extent, like a Broderick Jones or a Darnell Wright as well. They were higher on Anton Harrison. He's 21 years old. I talked to Doug after the press conference, and he said, he's like, Mia, he's a young guy. He comes from a good family where he's the oldest of 4 sons. He said that the Oklahoma coaching staff told Doug that, like, as much as the offensive line coach, Coach Biedenbaugh, has been there since Bob Stoops, and he's revered, like, he would legit say to Anton, you go take the scout team offensive line, and he would go work with them while Coach B worked with the starters. Like, that's the type of player that he is, and only at 21 years old, and obviously a 3-year starter. So the Jags think they hit a home run. Obviously, trading back was their goal. That was why they panicked when our good buddy John Shipley, reported the Cam Robinson suspension, because they were worried they were going to lose trade leverage. They did not, at least in going backwards. Maybe perhaps in moving up later in the draft, but no, I thought the Anton Harrison pick, I mean, that's as solid an A- B+ as you can find, which, if the upside is there, which they believe it is, that is a solid A. I mean, it is a double, triple with the potential to stretch it into a home run.
Sounds good to me. And is it just true that the teams didn't want to trade up to the Jaguars because they basically gave the Bills Dalton Kincaid?
I don't know about that. That's a good question. I didn't think about that fully. But
I don't know if it was like a joke, but that's what I've heard.
There's also people that are bashing the Bills for that pick. So, I mean, I don't really know if it's, if who the winner in that one is. I mean, I'm curious to see how he fits in that offense. I mean, I would think that means Ken Dorsey's going to change it up a little bit, because they try to be run heavy, even though they literally don't have a running back. So I'm interested to see what happens.
I mean, I know they signed Damian Harris. They just signed UCF legend Latavius Murray. He was signed today. I mean, I guess we'll really see. I think whether it's 12, 11 personnel, I think Kincaid can be a really good slot player. Whether he's just like replacing a wide receiver in the slot himself, or if they want to do more inline looks. So that one's a very interesting pick. Probably a little Kansas City inspired. But everyone's trying to get the next great tight end. So
right,
we'll see how that goes. I'm very curious.
And yeah, we'll probably see them in London, right? That's the rumor right now.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not Buffalo, because
no, yeah, we're not.
No.
So we're
it's I can tell you this, like, we were hearing conflicting reports of who the home game in London will be, but the away game, it's the Buffalo Bills.
I think like in terms of all the London games usually being between 2 bad teams, now it's like, okay, we have actually like a really good Jags team.
We're sending our best to London apparently now, the NFL says.
The last time we had a Bills Jags game in London, the 2 teams
banger.
weren't quite as good. Yeah. But shout out Allen Hurns.
But the game was a banger, so hey, exactly. Allen Hurns, man.
Was that the Toby Gerhart game?
Yeah, that was the stuffing at the 1-yard line game, and Blake Bortles punting the ball into the stands game. There was a lot that happened in that same game.
God.
Hopefully this London game can match up to the legendary status of the last one, but we'll see.
Yeah, Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence. We're going way too far ahead, but hey, we're just excited for things to kick off. We were talking a bit about the day 2 picks earlier, and Benson Strange and Tank Bixby. So the first 2 days of the draft was just heavily focused on this offense. So talk about the kind of versatility those two would bring more into detail, what you think the offense could look like, and the kind of usage for these first two picks, as scary as it can be. Because it looks like it may be those 2 guys are more situational guys, but they could have a very big impact year 1, maybe when it comes to crucial plays for the Jaguars coming into 2023.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of short yardage. Like, at least that's what my compatriots in the press box were saying. They're like, this is clear that Doug isn't just fixated with stopping Travis Kelce. He is fixated by, why did we struggle on 3rd and short so much? And these 2 afford you that opportunity, because Bigsby is more of a bowling ball, although not quite as big of a bowling ball as I anticipated them going for in adding another running back through the draft. I thought they'd go for a Chris Rodriguez or a Muhammad Ibrahim out of Minnesota, because those guys are just literally, like, not Derrick Henry, obviously, because no one is, but bigger, dudes that are going to just bulldoze their way into the end zone. Instead, they go for a guy who, quite frankly, has similar dimensions to Snoop Connor, but has more wiggle. I said he's a better, more athletic version of James Robinson, and I stand by that. And so that'll be curious to see. And obviously, it keeps Travis Etienne healthy and, not taking, shots at left and right, although he still probably will. And then I think the Brenton Strange pick, in a similar vein, he is more of an inline guy. Like, it sounds bad, but like the comparisons that I'm hearing, range from George Kittle to, minus the murder, like Aaron Hernandez. Like, think about what Aaron Hernandez did for Rob Gronkowski. Like, that is what the Jaguars on the field, not off the field, on the field, that is what they're looking to do with Evan Ingram playing the role of Gronk. And being more of the passing or receiving tight end. And I think that's exciting because, Evan Ingram can get you your 6 or 7 yard grab, but he's a guy who's going to stretch the field more. And so I think that this is a different component to add to Doug Peterson's offense, another wrinkle. And I know he's excited, so I don't know if everybody else is.
Yes.
First off, I just want to say,
go for it, Javal. Yeah.
Shout out Mia, because February mock draft, she had the exact pick. It was Anton at 27. I was like, there's no way he's going to get past Tampa. Like, Anton in a trade down. I was like, that's crazy. And then Mia Stradamus called it. Didn't call it on the 2 trade backs, but, still great. Great match.
And it was the Bills. Like, that was the funny part, was like, I never anticipated the Bills actually like working out, but here we are.
But, I guess in terms of the versatility of those picks, I know a lot of people, this is a pretty deep tight end class, and a lot of people think that Strange might be a reach, which, we'll see. He has some fans. I think he's a good athlete, which is great to see. You definitely don't want to, reach for a guy who's not a great athlete and great production. So we'll see with Strange. Very curious to see like how much he'll line up. I can kind of see some Trey Burton versatility. We're in Philadelphia. Trey Burton,
I thought the same thing. That was the other comp I had too. Yep.
He lined up a lot of different places. So I'm really curious because, everyone talks about like Doug and 12 tight end personnel. And then off the presser, I was like, okay, they're probably not going to go with tight end super early, maybe like round 5. My guess was like round after day 3. And then they just, hey, second pick, we're taking a tight end. And,
don't leave a paper trail. Don't leave a paper trail. Evidently, that's what we all should have been paying attention to.
Yeah, once Keon White went off the board, it was basically like, it was a Doug Peterson. My note here for Ben Strange is this screams Doug Peterson over Trent Baalke more than anything.
Which I know a lot of people don't love the pick, but I have faith in Doug. I think Doug can make a good athlete, get him in space. Doesn't have a great catch radius, but he can run after the catch a little bit. So if you can just have a good guy like Coach, you can get him open, scheme him open on some plays, get him on the move. I think can be really a very good role player pick, which isn't necessarily what you want in the second round, but I think he can play a role, fit it well. Tank, I think he'll be a pretty good complement. The running back room is going to be really interesting. I guess Tank should be locked in to RB2, but we will see. I still really like Dearness Johnson. Like that, I would have been fine with the room of ETN, Dearness, and Hasty, but I understand they want more of a physical guy. So we'll see what the Tank can bring, man. It is 2 great names though, Doctor Strange and Tank. It's like two great names for the nicknames. So I'm really happy they at least gave us something to meme about. So
exactly. So I just thinking of like that versatility you're talking about, just like play action sets with the 2 tight end, 2 wide out, or 1 running back sets. Just more athletic version of maybe a Chris Manhurst, even though they're not really the same type of player. But if you can get him out in play action, you can roll him out in the flat, and the big thing about him at Penn State was those plays he can make after the catch. He's a very strong. He can he's not the slowest tight end, so maybe that's just something that Doug wanted to do, get a very more athletic guy as a complement to Evan Ingram. So it just brings out more versatility, and maybe that opens up for maybe a Christian Kirk or Calvin Ridley on those type of plays.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
In theory, it all just sounds really good, but like I said, in practice, we'll see. We'll just have to see how it goes.
I'm glad you allotted so much time, knowing that I have to be ready to boogie by 7, that you allotted so much time for the, wait for it, 10 draft picks that then went down on Saturday.
Oh boy. Let's start off with let's rip the band-aid off. Ventrell Miller. We alluded it to it earlier, Javal. This was definitely the least popular of the day three picks, and it was the first one we made of the day. So what do you have on Ventrell Miller, Mia? That's for the Gator fans, and that might be for
Here's the
Mia.
thing is like I love Ventrell as a kid. He's a great kid or dude, you know, and like he when healthy, he was the best defender at Florida the last 2 years. Except he really wasn't healthy all that much. And moreover, I don't see where he fits into the Jaguars. Like I just don't see outside of basically being a Shaq Quarterman replacement in waiting and a Caleb Johnson replacement. Like, sure, I guess that's an upgrade if healthy. And I understand Trent had to check his quota of he drafted a hurt guy, but to take him at 121 was just the most bizarre thing to me. Like, if they had drafted Lacey at 121, then they get Abdullah at 140, and then in the first pick of the fifth round, they take Ventrell, fine. Like, weird, but Trent has a fetish for linebackers. I don't care. It's okay. But to take him at 121 and say they, quote, skipped on some other picks for him, like, that was just very strange for me.
Yeah, no, I was just dogging a Gator fan in another chat saying like how he wasn't gonna make the roster, or I want success for anybody that's
Hey,
on this
what's his
roster.
name? Who was the edge rusher from Florida a few years ago who didn't make the roster? What was his name? Oh, like on the Jets. There was a guy.
Oh,
What was his
from
name?
fourth round pick. Yeah,
He
I
was
know
like
you're
a
talking
third.
about.
I
He was a
can't
fourth
remember
round
the
pick.
name, but
Yeah, he was a
I
fourth
know who
round
you're
pick.
talking about though.
let me try looking it up.
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah,
Jabari's,
no.
was it Zuniga?
Yes, Zuniga. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because basically he
TBT.
flamed out not even a year inside that roster, I think, or maybe just over a year. He just flamed out immediately. That's what it screamed to me when
No,
he
he
made
like
that pick.
literally got cut for 53-man cut down. He was a fourth round pick. I think he just
That's
showed up that fat. I don't know.
that's
But
crazy
hopefully
to me.
Ventrell Miller shows up a little bit healthier than that. And I'm sure he will. But again, I just don't see where he fits unless you're going to move Devin Lloyd to the edge. So
Yeah, that was a crazy part. We spent two tops, 70 picks on linebacker last year, and
And
then you
then
take another one at the first pick in day three. Just didn't really scream any sense to me, honestly.
I was floored. I think in real time, it was just so much worse because, you're waiting for the first pick, the fourth round, the trade up's not happening. Like, okay, we're going to
We
sit and
traded
wait.
down again, I think, too, which was like, it's like, but goddamn, how many picks do y'all want? And then it's like, okay, you made us wait for, freaking, yeah,
Ventrell, a
Ventrell
player
Miller.
at a school that most fans are scarred for, a position that we have plenty of depth for. That was like the ultimate, like,
Yeah, it's
if the
like,
draft ended after like strange Bigsby Miller, I think most fans would have given it an F grade. But there's 9 more picks, so
oh boy, 9 more. Yeah, then we went with Tyler Lacey. I had an Oklahoma State guy in another chat just be like raving about Tyler Lacey, and he's just that interior run stuffing defensive end slash defensive tackle, and maybe a potential fully replacement after this year.
my guess
yeah,
was more so Smoot, but
right. I thought Smoot, but then I asked him to describe his game and he compared his game more to Roy. Which no offense, buddy, he just got a 3-year extension. That was probably the wrong player to say that you're that person because we don't need two of them. Yeah, I mean, he can play anywhere from the nose tech to the 5. And so that's where I think, I think he provides you versatility. He's at that weird Smoot weight class where he can go up, he can go down. And so hopefully they don't, mess with his diet like they did Smoot for 4 freaking years, his first 4 years on his rookie deal.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm really curious what they're gonna do with Lacey. I didn't know too much about him, but just kind of based off the measurables, seems like like they know they love inside outside versatility. So I mean, I'd like to re-sign Smoot back. It's been free agents haven't been signed yet, even after comp picks. So we'll see if that happens. But I think at least can be a developmental depth guy. You always want to add to the D line. So I don't know too much about the player, but you can never really go wrong investing in the defense and offensive line. Just trenches every year. So
one thing that was really fascinating to me is that they were so key on not leaving a paper trail for Brenton Strange. And yet for Tyler Lacey, they left the largest paper trail I've ever seen them leave, to the point that he was literally on Jaguars Today last week. Because his agent was pretty confident it was the Jags. So they did what? They had a top 30 visit, combine interview, and a pro day interview with the kid. So yeah, this one, the writing was on the wall.
it was always the Jags.
Absolutely. And then my favorite pick, I think, of day 3, I think a lot of people's pick in day 3 was Yabsir Abdullah from Louisville. Very undersized guy at linebacker edge, but he just has a lot of speed and basically pop from that position. So what did you think? I think this is my most exciting day 3 pick at anything.
Yeah, I mean him and Antonio Johnson going back to back was like huge, massive for morale, and I think massive because I think that both of them could be immediate starters on special teams and have an immediate impact as well on the defensive side of the ball once they learn the playbook. Because Abdullah literally did everything at Louisville. I mean, 19 and a half sacks the last 2 years. Hello. Then he had, I think I'm going to pull it up because it was crazy. Like, and then when we asked him, like, what part of your game are you most proud of? He was like, I'm proud that I can literally do anything that the coaching staff asks of me. Here it is. 4 forced fumbles last year, 4 pass breakups, 2 picks, 63 tackles, and then 9.5 sacks. And also 14.5 tackles for loss. That was after a true or junior year, or redshirt junior year, in which he had 16.5 tackles for loss, 10 sacks, and then didn't quite light up as much in the secondary. He had 3 pass breakups and 1 forced fumble. But still, I mean, the dude does a little bit of everything. I understand it's Louisville and the ACC, but like he consistently got better each season. And they put him in a variety of places. So my expectation for him, I don't think he's going to be asked to do as much, obviously, as a rookie. But if you can't sign Yannick Ngakoue or another pass rusher, like this kid becomes your designated pass rusher. You don't have to worry about moving Devin Lloyd to the edge if this kid actually hits.
Right. I mean, just based off like the body type and like the fit, I love the fit. I could definitely see him, dropping back. There was one play he made. It was like I posted a clip on Twitter that he actually retweeted, so I'm a little happy for that. But he posted.
I retweeted. I'm pretty sure I retweeted it too.
Yeah, he was like covering a wide receiver on a wheel route, and then Coleman was breaking it down, and how he was able to arm bar on a wheel route, and the ball was underthrown, like not the best ball, but the fact that as a outside linebacker, you're able to run with the wide receiver and make a play on the foot, not even just make a pass breakup, but to have the ball goes for interception. So I'm really excited. I mean, Caldwell would drop guys into coverage. So I think possibly third down, you have Josh, you can have Abdullah, Trayvon on the inside. Whether you have Abdullah's like your speed guy off the edge or, drop him back into coverage. I think he'd be a great rotational player, good depth, good special teamer. So I'm really curious to see like where they use him all over because he can do so many things. So that's probably the pick where I'm like, okay, he can really be a nice, great depth piece that just fits really well. Like I love the fit here, so I'm really excited that we drafted him, and also from South Florida. So I have to support all my players.
Yeah, your Broward County and South Florida boys, Javal.
He's from Miami, not Broward.
Oh,
this is like close enough.
Yeah. Also, the greatest draft day interview we've ever had in my 5 years here. Like incredible on Zoom when we talked to him.
I didn't see his interview.
Oh, he showed. Well, so they only posted the one-on-one. They didn't post. But if you go to live, on the Jaguars tab, I think it may be there. This dude, like, he came with receipts. He had not only every name of every pass rusher drafted ahead of him, he had, we asked like about being an undersized linebacker, he had a list of undersized linebackers who inspire him. He had a list of South Florida guys who inspire him. He talks about his community service work as being a Muslim and what he's done to basically, not anti, what's the term? For discrimination. Yes, Islamophobia. For basically going against Islamophobia and, creating different organizations when he was on campus at Louisville. I was told that Scott Satterfield spoke to another reporter, and I was told, via that reporter of what Satterfield told him, who obviously was the head coach at Louisville, that they kept looking for flaws in this kid on and off the field, and they couldn't find any. And so, yeah, I mean, granted, that's his former head coach, who has since moved on to a different school, but still, like a home run if he hits. If he hits and if he learns the playbook like his personality suggests, like, yeah, you hit on that one. And if nothing else, you have a pretty good replacement, even if he can't go inside, but that's why you drafted Lacey for Arden Key, who built the city, because now you got a guy who can come off the edge, is even faster. And if nothing else, you have Kaylavon Chason's replacement literally sitting in house.
I mean, that's the goal, though, is trying to build not just for this year, but for beyond. And that's why they got the 20 million day 3 picks. I'm very excited to see him. Hopefully he'll pop out from camp and then hopefully preseason, and maybe we'll see him soon, or maybe we're just gonna have to wait. but that's the one that intrigues me most. And then we alluded to it earlier, but Antonio Johnson potentially being that future guy at the strong safety spot for Rashawn Jenkins.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll eventually succeed Rayshawn Jenkins. That much was very clear. He'll play situational all over. Javal, I said this before you came on. Like, my assessment of the draft is that they are trying to play positionless football. Like, they are taking what you see on a basketball court and putting it on a football field. That is absolutely their goal. Because they just keep drafting athletic dudes who can do a lot, and they're just like, all right, we're gonna figure it out. And he's another chess piece that'll fit into Mike Caldwell's defense. And obviously he was a fan favorite, 2nd round grade. He was the first name back in February that one of my guys in the front office told me that they had interest in. And according to Antonio, he's met with the Jaguars since he was like a sophomore at A&M, like with scouts, like at least having informal conversations / they had their eye on him. So yeah, no, it's that one. The fact that they got him when they did, I don't know how, but hey, glad it happened.
I know he didn't test the best, which, is fair point, but I mean, the safety class as a whole was really slow. There wasn't a lot of great athletes. And I think in terms of, Caldwell's defense in Tampa, they, have 3 safety sets, bringing guys other than like Mike Edwards could play inside and be like a blitzer. So I definitely think, he may not be like a true cover nickel, but maybe like a goal line scenario. They want to stop the run, have Rayshawn and Antonio on the field, which is just like, we will hit you and we will hit you very hard. So, and like you alluded to, probably a Rayshawn replacement. I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of similar skill sets. So I remember in like February he was being mocked like to the Jags in like the end of the 1st round. So getting him at the 5th, great value, and I'm pretty excited. He's probably not the guy you want in coverage all the time, but in terms of like a downhill attacker, I'm gonna be like a demon out of hell and just blitz my life off. I love him for that role. So I'm really excited to see, just like you said, positionless football, not about positionless football. You could have Abdullah dropping in coverage, Johnson coming off a blitz, just a lot of speed, trying to confuse guys. So I know Mike Caldwell is definitely more excited just to have more options for next year and beyond. So I'm really curious to see how that goes.
Definitely. I think that's the big part too. Is just like Mia said, more bodies to compete during camp, trying to make, breed iron, or iron sharpens iron basically, and just see what sticks out now or what maybe could work in the future. And then I guess the last guy I have notes on is basically Parker Washington, the next pick, Parker Washington, the wide receiver from Penn State. That could be something of a definitely the developmental wide receiver they want to build to maybe be in that slot or maybe play outside. What did you have on him, Mia?
Sure hands. He rarely, if ever, dropped the ball. And he also, again, like Brenton Strong, was catching passes from noodle arm Sean Clifford. So his best football has to be ahead of him because he didn't have a real quarterback the last 5 years. No, I think that what's interesting about Parker Washington, he's not a Debo. Like, if you saw that from one of my co-hosts on the timeline, no, he's not a Debo. He is more of a Hunter Renfrow. He's a smaller guy. I would comp him to Christian Kirk, just not as fast. I think he's more of a red zone target, even though he's not a massive guy, but just because he's so great at the point of attack, and the high pointing every catch that he hauls in. And so I think it's a unique fit. I do think he'll be a stash guy unless he could somehow beat out Tim Jones, who's got 5 inches on him, and show that he's a better blocker in training camp. That would be the only way he would be the fifth wide receiver on this roster. But I think he could beat out Kendrick Pryor and be the 6th roster, and they just stash him and make him a healthy scratch all year.
Yeah, I think
First
so
of all,
too.
Have to respect Green Bay Packers draft. I don't know why they drafted the Penn State quarterback, but hey, also
it was a favor to James Franklin. I'm convinced.
Yeah, no, I legit also put I put a note here that said apparently Penn State quarterbacks will forever be terrorists and potential Christian Kirk
who was the
replacement.
guy? Christian Hackenberg?
Yeah,
second
round
pick
pick for
Yes.
the Jets.
Oh, man.
Because the Jets never started a game in the NFL. Just
at least I didn't
absolutely
take
beautiful.
Sean Clifford in the 2nd round. So
Yeah.
but I mean, personally, I was expecting if they were going to draft a receiver, probably more of like a height, weight, speed guy. I know they did had a revisit with Dontavian Wicks, who the Packers also drafted. He's more of a deep threat. So I was definitely surprised with the pick, but the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, I don't hate it. He definitely can provide some versatility. Maybe next year if you have to move on from Zay for cap reasons, maybe you play Kirk outside a little bit more, put Parker in the slot because Kirk's probably better inside, but I don't think he can't play on the outside with the Z. So I'm really curious. I mean, I know they already have some other guys stashed. Like I remember in the Trevor video we had Calvin, like Kevin Austin Jr. was there, which I forgot he existed. So maybe those
Just
guys
because
can
he
be,
literally was god awful in training camp and OTAs last year. The dude couldn't catch.
maybe one of those guys. I still have some Tim Jones. Hope he can be more of a downfield threat, and you have Parker kind of be underneath. But I do like in terms of how Doug can get guys open, and great hands. Like even though he doesn't have the best catch radius, if the ball is in his radius, he's probably going to come down with it. I think I saw a stat. He was like second contested catch. It was like 7 of 11 or something. So I definitely trust him. And I trust Doug. So obviously they watched the Penn State tape and they were like, oh, 86 is pretty good, but this Parker Washington guy. So I'm curious to see like what they'll have for the offense because not who I would have envisioned, but at the same time, it is a good coaching staff where I have faith that they can get guys. So really curious how that'll all work.
Oh my goodness, how do we still have 5 picks after this? Jesus
I was
Christ.
gonna
You
say
can
I got
just
5 minutes. So do
bunch.
you want me to give you? I was gonna say, do you want
Yeah,
me to give
quick
you my
rundown
assessment?
for one.
Yeah, before I gotta
30 minutes.
bounce, and then you guys can continue debating. We said this
Absolutely.
off the top, I believe. The next 2 picks very much are dudes who will compete for that nickel corner, third corner role. Even if you've heard people say that Eric Hartlett is a safety, which sure, he is. But he also was the best safety in nickel coverage, not named Antonio Johnson last year. And so I think that, there's something to be said about having a guy who, as I told John off the top, has a hell of a resume. I mean, he was the ACC championship game player of the year, a player of the game 2 years ago. He had, what was it, 9 pass breakups last year. He had like 4 picks or something like that. Here, I'm pulling it up now. I was trying to stall, but it didn't work out so fast. Yeah, it's not popping up here. Hold on. Eric Hallett. We need college reference. There it is. I have it saved. This guy had 2 forced fumbles, 9 pass breakups, 3 fumble recoveries, 3 picks each of the last 2 years, 3 tackles for loss, 54 tackles total, 68 the year before. So like, dude has numbers. Like, it's not like he's just some rando. The other guy kind of is Braswell out of Rutgers. He's definitely a guy they're banking on high upside. So I think it's just going to be a competition between those guys. And even don't sleep on some of the undrafted free agents. Coach Campo texted me bright and early yesterday. Loves the Caleb Hayes kid who tested off the charts out of BYU. Loves him. So I think they're just going to throw all of them in with Trey Herndon, Buster Brown, and Greg Jr. and say, battle it out. Figure it out which one of you is best at nickel. And even as is, we're probably going to drop Antonio Johnson a little bit into nickel coverage. So that's what we're doing. I think they'll play a ton of dime next year as well. The 3 7th-round picks. Cooper Hodges out of Baker County.
Local boy. Yeah, that's my note for him. Local boy.
Local boy that, moreover, the text line is on my lifetime enclosures on 1010XL told us on Wednesday last week that the Jags had made a promise to Cooper Hodges, 6th or 7th round, to look out for him. And they lived up to it. He's a guy who actually went, as he told us, he went from Baker County to App State as a guard, and their right tackle got hurt, and then the right tackle's backup got hurt. And so as a true freshman, they were like, all right, buddy, it's all you. And so that's why he's played right tackle his entire career, but he is expected to move into guard. And again, another Phil Rauscher project that I think is really critical if they hit on it, because, Brandon Scherf's 31, and how much longer is he going to, I think he's got a bunch of years left, but how many years do the Jags believe he has? So that I thought was a great value pick as well. The kid out of UNC was a JUCO product. All I know is that he's all about ball, and he was a late bloomer, and he's a big body. So that's all I got on him. And then Derek Parrish is our boy, the defensive lineman / running back / fullback / special teams extraordinaire. People love that kid. People thought he was going to get drafted as a true edge guy. And so here, I'm going to pull up his stats because, it is worth looking at. He, again, I'm wrong one, me, I idiot. Here we go. So Derek Parrish out of Houston, right? This is his numbers at the defensive position last year. So 5 sacks, 8.5 tackles for loss. That was with 1 forced fumble. That was after the year before. He had 12 tackles for loss and 5 sacks. So that is also while playing the fullback position and being an ace special teamer. I don't get it, but I mean, maybe it's a complete flyer, but it still fascinates me.
So 9 sacks last year for a guy who also could be fullback for this roster, like Bruce Miller.
5 sacks, 9 tackles for loss. Or 8.5 tackles for loss. I was wrong, but yes, 5 sacks.
5 sacks. Jesus.
Trayvon Walker didn't get the 5 sacks last year. He didn't get the 5 sacks at Georgia, I don't think. I'm gonna double check
that's
that.
an AAC, American Athletic Conference guy, as Javal would know.
Also that, yeah. I mean, that's worth noting as well. So those are my final thoughts. Any other questions before I must bolt to other endeavors? Yeah, by the way, Trayvon Walker had 6 sacks his final year at Georgia. I apologize, Trayvon. Please come on my podcast.
How many how many picks are we gonna have next year's draft after Balky trades down?
If he trades down again, I think they're going to try to break the Rams record. The Rams have 38 guys going into rookie minicamp next week.
I forgot I saw that earlier. I was like, what the?
Yes, they have 24 undrafted free agents, and they drafted 14 guys. So the Jags didn't even draft the most players in this NFL draft.
Yeah, the Rams definitely need it more than we do right now.
Yeah.
But
they're in
hopefully
full rebuild mode. So
hopefully we can get the ring without having to, do the full rebuild after.
Let's hope. Let us pray.
All right, Mia, we'll let you go. Javal and I will continue this conversation. We'll do reverse. We start with Mia, we end with Javal. Thank you again, Mia. I hope
Always,
you have a good rest of your day. Hopefully your house searching goes well.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye, friends.
Have a good night, Mia.
Thank you,
Javal, what's up? I know. How did you think about this surprise? I didn't want to tell you. So
that was definitely spicy, but glad that we had somebody to talk more, especially about the late round guys, because the two defensive backs, Braswell and Eric Hallett. I think Braswell played outside more at Rutgers, but he has like the nickel body type, so we'll see. I'm just glad they didn't draft the outside corner, round 2, and said, "Hey, play nickel." Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I would have taken a nickel, a corner to develop outside. So I don't know. Maybe if Eric Hallett wins the nickel job, then they have Braswell be one of those death corners. Dude, I have no clue who's this training camp is going to be so fascinating.
Yeah.
If it was up to me, I would have just drafted a guy early, but at least Balky decided to just overdraft and just
offense.
I guess triple dip in this scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's like, if I don't get a defensive back in the first 3 rounds, I'm just gonna get 3 between rounds 5 and 6. So one of you guys got to be good. So
I know. So basically, what Mia said was that basically Balky traded down for all those day 3 picks. I know that was alluded to on the timeline a lot too during the weekend. It's to just get those guys that could be given more guaranteed money on the undrafted free market with those set 6th and 7th round salaries, which is the reason why they traded back so much, so they can just stock up on guys who might have been, maybe more higher end UDFA guys for some other boards, but they've had grades on them to where they can just lock them down for however many years, and then they can just, be cut loose so they don't just, turn out to what they think they could be. Without
I mean, I saw people saying how UDFAs are getting paid more on the open market, so I guess in some ways it's better to go undrafted. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, man, we will see. There's so many picks that realistically you just need about 6 to just be depth players. Even if half of the players hit, that's obviously.
I mean, half the players hit would be an amazing draft. You just need maybe 3 for a draft class to be kind of viable. But for this many players, if you can get 5 or 6, like you said, to hit, it would be doing wonders for this roster going forward.
Obviously 2021, there were a lot earlier picks, so they had better chance of hitting. But 2021, you had Trevor, you have Travis, you have Tyson, you have Walker Little, and then Cisco was out. Cisco was in that draft class. Yeah, just Urban Meyer didn't play him.
Yeah.
So
that's why I forgot about.
It's like he was basically a rookie last year.
Yeah.
No, but
Oh yeah. So basically, we drafted a lot of ACC secondary. I just realized that Pittsburgh, Cisco last year, Syracuse. Yeah. We drafted a lot of ACC secondary players, and then Liasir Abdullah, Louisville, another ACC guy.
But
and
yeah, I guess based off like 2021, we had 5 players hit so far. Who else? I don't even remember who else came after Cisco, but you have 5 players and all 5 of them, like they're going to be, core pieces. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is the GOAT.
I mean, yeah, so we're gonna have to give a big contract, hopefully just next year, so it's done. We don't gotta worry about 5th-year option and beyond.
Yeah, hopefully, man. I mean, ETN's good. We know how good Tyson is. Walker, the fact, we're able to get another starting tackle at 45 is great value. And I remember when that pick happened, I was so mad, and now I'm like really happy. And there's Cisco. So that was 5 players, and that helped the Jags, this year. Like those 5 guys, they all played at a very high level. So if hopefully in 2 to 3 years, if we can get let's just say like low end 5 players to play at a well level, I'm solid. I think comparing this draft to like the 2020 draft when they had like the Duval dozen, they had like 12 picks.
And like
The big
almost none of them.
difference,
Yeah.
the big difference is that we actually have a coaching staff who can develop guys this time. So it's like we had higher picks in 2020, but most of those, oh my goodness, man! I keep speaking of 2020. Yeah, Chase On's 5th-year option did not get picked up.
To no one's surprise.
CJ Henderson's 5th-year option did
Also.
not get picked up. So yeah, it's just so funny because I think back like that draft and I was so excited. We have 12 picks. Some of these guys have to pan out.
Yeah,
and then
none of
it's
them.
Devon.
Oh yeah, Devon Hamilton got extension. Yeah.
It's 4 players. It's literally Devon, it's
Barch.
Shaq, and Daniel Thomas out of 12 players.
None of those 4 guys, they stuck. Shaq Quarterman, nice guy though. Oak High School legend. I will say that. That's my favorite guy out of that.
I know you have the picture with Shaq.
Yeah, exactly.
The legendary hit on Henry. So
exactly. Forever be. If anything else, he gave us that moment to give us on the road to the AFC South division title last year. He gave us that moment. So shout out to Shaq Wardman forever for that.
But yeah, I mean, if we can even get, let's probably play it safe. Let's say Anton hits. He's a good right tackle. Let's say Strange is a pretty solid tight end too, and Big is a good running back. If you just get like 2 or 3 other players outside of those guys to contribute,
stick on the roster for like 5 years minimum or 4 or 5 years minimum. Right.
Even like just 3 to 4. Like let's say like if they move on second contract, but.
So yeah, Yasir Abdullah hits, like Antonio Johnson hits, and maybe hell, let's say that edge fullback,
one of those nickels,
or even the edge fullback hits, just like cool, great. It's just more.
We'll see.
More roster spots you'll like down the road.
Yeah, I mean, like I guess also this is probably preparing for when we do have to pay Trevor $60 million. We need to get as much depth as we can now so that, when guys do have to walk, we have ready replacements. So in terms of that also, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's definitely not how I would, like if I was in the GM chair, it's probably not where I would have went, but I give this draft a little more leeway because I have more faith in the coaching staff to take, guys who weren't rated super highly and get the best out of them. So it's a very interesting scenario in how the Jags maneuvered. And I think, I think probably the biggest thing is like, they're seeing all the guys getting quarterback contracts, like Lamar just got paid, Hurts just got paid, Burrow and Herbert about to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor's going to be, his agent's going to be like 55 million is the floor, brother.
Yeah. So, I would legit give him 60 million a year just to fuck with every other team, like immediately. Like I just legit would just say, here you go, if you take a 10-year contract, 60 million ABI, per year for the next 10 years, here, just take it. Honestly, just set the franchise for the next decade. If he gets hurt, fine, but you gotta lock Trevor down as long as you can.
Give him the Mahomes deal, man.
Yeah, you have to. These
that Mahomes. A 10-year contract is such a fucking steal. Like as long as you have no reservations, and the quarterback is there for 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, just guarantee. He basically becomes pseudo GM though at that point, which fair enough. If you want to keep the quarterback happy, you don't want an Aaron Rodgers situation for like 10 to 15 years.
If Trevor says he wants a receiver, then get him.
Yeah, I was like, no, I legit just you have to. If you get anywhere closer to the AFC divisional round in 2023, Like if you go to like the AC Championship or God hoping a Super Bowl next year, you have to give him whatever the hell he wants going forward. I mean, that's the hope, though. That's always
Yeah, I
going to be
mean,
the hope.
so we'll definitely see. I mean, I think in terms of like how they prepared for the future mega contract, it makes a lot of sense. I guess my one biggest irk is the fact that there's still very much uncertainty in who's going to be the nickel corner.
Yeah.
Because, like right now I can say, I feel pretty good about Tank being a RB2/3. I feel good about Strange having snaps. I feel good
Yeah.
about Anton playing the right tackle. But I think in terms of like the biggest need, there's still
It's
question marks. Even at edge, it's like, as much as I like
situational pass
Abdullah,
rusher was always, yeah, but situational pass rusher, I think over slot even would be my biggest priority. But it maybe looks like we can get someone like Ngakoue to sign after 4 p.m. tomorrow, which would be awesome, honestly.
wasn't it today?
It's
Or
tomorrow. Mia said
okay,
tomorrow.
well, yeah, nobody's signed yet today, so that also
Yeah.
makes sense.
So it's tomorrow.
But I mean, yeah, if you sign an edge, I think like Abdullah and whether if it's not Ngakoue, Frank Clark, whoever should be fine. I'm still just like the nickel spot is like, if the corners you draft, if neither of them really hit, and you just have like a bunch of dudes in Trey Herndon and Herndon was out the spot again, you're just kind of in like the same spot as last year.
Or
So
you
that's
where you're
my
hoping that he just like, is at least okay at best,
I mean, like I know he's mainly played outside, but
Yeah, that's the issue.
hope
It's like Darius Williams too. They are undersized, but they're a lot better, I feel like, outside than in. So you're hoping to find since Tony Khan is a guy that prioritized UDFAs, late round picks, and he found Mike Hilton within his like first couple of years here at the organization. So you're kind of hoping that can find or one of those guys that they drafted late round, or maybe a UDFA or someone else they bring in late could be that guy that just takes that slot corner spot and just runs away with it for the future. So just one less position to worry about for the future.
yeah, I mean that's and even also like terms of next year, like Darius Williams, I don't see. Maybe he comes back. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hopefully he
it's
balls out. Like that's the hope that they just
yeah,
continue the ball out. You don't have to worry
yeah. I
about,
mean, if he pays plays well, he pays well. So yeah, that's probably the one biggest irk more than anything is I wish that they attacked corner a little earlier. But
yeah.
if some of those, as long as one of those guys hits and they're like a solid nickel corner, then it's fine. If not, and you're in a worst case scenario where it's like, Herndon beats the guys out and he's the best, then it's like you didn't get much better, just more deeper. But we'll see. I mean, there's so many picks that it's really impossible to determine who will be good, who will be bad. And I mean, they don't have like I know Ship made like a 53 man prediction today and got 11 of the draft picks on there. So there's definitely room for some of the players to make it. But in terms of how many will make it, how many we're going to practice squad, that's what camp's going to determine. So it's going to be a really interesting series of battles and just seeing, how all the players contribute. So it's exciting, but I
A
guess
lot
we'll
of more
see.
questions. Yeah, but it's something to look forward to later on whenever we get mini camps and training camp on the way.
The one thing I feel pretty good is that the Giants are going to score like 30 points a game next year.
No, that's
The
the
fact,
goal. I bet we
this,
don't score
this,
more than four touchdowns a game. I'll be a little disappointed, but that
like
should be the
you
goal.
you can't spend a third round pick on an RB2 and a
Yeah.
second round pick on like a backup tight end, not have all the offensive versatility and not cook. But it is Doug also, so I feel good in him cooking.
Yeah, I took a
You
tight end
know,
round two. Just like, okay, fair. I trusted you, Doug. Hopefully you deliver.
I know Ship hates Doctor Strange, but I'm a fan of him, so
Me too. Hey, me too. I like it. And a lot of the Penn State guys are like, yeah, he just wasn't used a lot because one, the quarterback is a terrorist, and two, he's a tight end. Penn State has a good history of producing tight ends in the NFL too. So,
yeah, I
you
mean
know,
Penn State just has great athletes, like in general, like all over the board. They consistently recruit good athletes.
just never the quarterback.
So
Yeah, that's the only thing about it.
yeah, man. But I guess really quick, what grade would you give the Jags draft?
Solid B. I think that's just a great all around. It is definitely solid B. I would have done a lot different with the round day 2 picks. Maybe I would have seen the trade up to get maybe that Keon White you're kind of really wanting, or even like getting up even further to give up for a Brian Branch maybe, but it just wasn't meant to be,
Awesome.
unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I'd give it like a C plus. I don't hate it. There's definitely lots of room for improvement. You know,
It
like
would
I
have been an
said.
A if we didn't take Ventrell Miller. I'm just kidding. I
Oh
should
yeah,
stop. I have to stop. But like, it's
no,
just
I have to be one player that I hate on that will like somewhat prove me wrong. It
yeah,
kind of happens every draft.
it's
So
gonna be Ventrell Miller now since we're just speaking it into existence. Or that's the hope, right? We just hate on a player so much he becomes something or worse
I mean,
something.
I don't know, man. I hated on Chase on, and after that pick, I'm
Yeah.
feeling
No, I
vindicated.
I
So
think we all did. Honestly, when Justin Jefferson was still on the board that year, and then we missed on it, and then some. Not even on the then some, and like a whole like 3-course meal, and like feeding a whole village in like Eastern, the third world country Asia. Like we missed on like God's favorite wideout. Basically, just I don't know how that happened. Still,
we
Dave
we, we,
Dave
we
Caldwell
scouted the right school. We
just
just had to
didn't.
go on the offense for Ellis.
Hey, but because of that, we got Trevor Lawrence though, so I always take it as a blessing, no matter what.
That's yeah. Diamond Dave was so bad in his last. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna make a draft that is so terrible. We have no choice but to get Trevor Lawrence.
Chase will
So
always give us that video.
maybe, but
Not the
yeah, man. I
bees.
guess
Ah!
man, we'll see. I know Breaking Mini Camp's probably gonna be in like a week or two, and then I just want to get to training camp because just the DB position, how that's going. I just want to see, obviously, like Ridley and how the receiver core as a whole will play, and then how the defensive backroom is like, they step up. So that's going to be a really interesting battle. Offensive line, hopefully Anton can transition well to right tackle. I know he played like right tackle like one game, but he was mainly left tackle. But Doug said he's going to start next to Scherf, and
That's going to be great for him too. Just having that veteran presence next to him, it should help him out a lot. Year one.
yeah, that's my only like. Obviously, if Anton was like at left tackle, I feel a lot more comfortable. But I think he can definitely be a good tackle. It just determines how quick that transition happens. Like, that's why I wanted Darnell Wright because he didn't already have to learn.
But
But
he became a top
Anton
10
is,
pick. So I was like,
yeah,
yeah,
I,
he
I
was
was
that popular.
surprised, man. I'm not even
I
mad. I was
wasn't
just,
because they needed help for Justin Fields badly. And taking the
yeah.
best right tackle on your board, fair play, honestly.
I
I
mean,
can see the vision.
I thought I would have been like Broderick or Skronsky, but Darnell definitely makes sense for them. But yeah, man, we'll see. Hopefully Anton plays well in camp. The tight end room.
Right.
I think I'm just curious, like who's tight end two?
I think it's strange, right? You have to have
Maybe.
yeah.
I still think Farrell has some upside. Like,
Yeah, I think so
he's
too.
not like super slow or anything. So
Yeah.
I think between Strange
He's
and
just that full
Farrell,
on blocking tight end guy, that can just if you ever need like a 3 tight end set, he's that third designated third guy next to Strange and Evan Ingram, obviously.
maybe Garrett Prince can make some impressions too. And then
They
the wide
kept
receiver
5
room.
last year, so maybe that fifth tight end would probably be that edge fullback that we
Did they
drafted.
keep 5 last year?
I think that's what Shipley said that they kept 5 last year at
I
some point.
maybe because I just remember it was like Man Hurts and Farrell and then Ingram. I know Prince is like practice squad a lot, so we'll see what he does this year in training camp. I know they brought another tight end like UDFA from Cincinnati.
Mhm.
So yeah, tight end, man, training camp is gonna be so many interesting battles. So I'm so curious, but I'm praying that somebody can beat out Herndon for that nickel spot because
Yeah,
that's
you
my
think you've
one
seen enough?
biggest.
You just seen enough of Trey Herndon. Fair enough. I don't
I
blame you
mean,
for that.
like he's not
He's not the
tear.
worst, yeah, but
He's good
yeah.
depth, but you just don't want him starting. Like if he's on the outside, I feel better about him starting. Even then, he's not like great on the
He's not
outside.
the
But
greatest athlete, but he has some decent ball skills, I think. I wouldn't say ball skills, but like he can hold his own against receivers for the most part.
yeah, man. So we'll see. I'm definitely like compared to last year's draft. when I was very much like, why did we not go receiver faster? Why do we take 2 linebackers? When, I think I'm a lot more optimistic because I've seen the success and what
Yeah.
the coaching staff can
It's like, all
provide.
right, we trust you guys. If y'all want these, fair enough.
I'm trying to like recap because it was Trayvon, it was Lloyd, it was Fortner, it was Muma, and then it was like Snoop. Yeah, I mean, last year's draft, I was just like, hopefully Lloyd and Muma are both pretty good. Trayvon, I had reasonable expectations.
But
Like,
as long as he stops the run year one, great. And guess what he did? He stopped the run. We beat
yeah, I
Derrick
mean,
Henry, won a division. So fun. Now you have to develop the pass rush now. That's the always expectation going forward with him at least.
yeah, I mean, I know, I guess we'll see. I know people are very split on Fortnite, as I call him.
Yeah, there's some people that think he's terrible. Some people think he'll hold his own. I'm in
I
that ladder
I
boat. Like
I
I think
don't know. Like, I really don't have any opinions on him. I think as a
yeah,
center,
exactly.
like unless you really go back and watch the run plays, like looking
Yeah.
for the center, you don't really see the centers like like when Tao gets beat in pass pro, they'll show the replay and like you'll see like, oh, he got beat. I remember like when Trevor almost got hurt in Detroit, like they showed Cam getting beat off
Yeah,
the edge,
exactly.
like ugh.
And
But then
that's what pissed almost everyone off. Of course it pissed every Jaguar fan off. It's like, dude, what the hell are you doing? You almost got the golden goose like hurt.
thank God that his knee was
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I guess like with Foreigner, it's just so much. Unless like you go in watching, I'm gonna watch the center play like
Yeah,
every single
exactly.
snap. Like I literally don't have an opinion on him, so I
Yeah.
just hope that he proves the doubters wrong. I mean, I Doug and Rauscher and Trevor talk about him very highly,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I
So
don't
I
think
trust him
he's
though.
like
Yeah.
I don't think he's terrible. Like I trust the coaching staff somewhat, so I guess we'll see. And then just really curious, like how the guys from last year's draft step up. Snoop Connor's probably not making the roster, but you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
then
that's what you do with day three picks though. You take guys who can project to maybe become something. If it doesn't work out, fair play.
I
That's what
still
good
have
teams are supposed to do. So hey.
still holding out for Buster Brown being like a Herndon replacement. I just like the name. Buster Brown is such a cool football
Or
name.
Gregory Jr., just also another great football name. Or Greg Jr.
Yeah, I mean
Eh,
Greg Jr. is
It's
like
not as good as Buster Brown. Yeah,
I think it's the fact that Greg got picked earlier and went to
yeah,
a worse competition school, and then I was like, why do we not draft the SEC
yeah.
guy before the
First, yeah, the small
Wichita
school guy.
Baptist? But well, we'll see, man. So hopefully, training camp comes and the other like the slightly older young guys play better, and then the young guys like the rookies, we'll see what they got, man. But any
Yeah.
other last minute thoughts
I don't
on this
know. I
Jags
like
draft class?
we'll just save those thoughts and predictions, I think, whenever training camp comes because I can really I just can't wait for just to see them like even in the practice uniforms again, just getting back to like full swing. Because hey,
Oh man,
they left us hanging with a divisional run. Like
oh man, I
beating
can't wait.
yeah. I mean, this is the most anticipation we've had since 2018 and hopefully it doesn't turn out the same way, but it's
Yeah,
a lot different now.
yeah.
We got a quarterback.
This and you have a head coach.
Exactly. Exactly. That's been there before. That's the most reassuring thing for Jaguar fans. And everybody else around us, Daisy South, they're chasing the Jaguar. I should have talked about that with
Man,
Mia more, but hey, we can bring her
man,
back on another time.
I
It's
just
crazy.
remember like Thursday night, I was at the gym like wrapping up, and I was like, what are the chances that like the Titans, Colts, and Texans all draft quarterbacks? And then when the Texans went Stroud, I was like,
Okay.
I
And then
mean,
they
I was
traded
like,
back
okay,
up. And then they was like, oh shit, they're getting Will Anderson. So it's like, all right, Texans, I see you. Caceres no longer holds back by that preacher Escobar. Fair
man,
play,
the AFC South next year, like I don't think Levis starts, but it would be hilarious if Trevor's like all 6 games went up against rookie quarterbacks.
It could. It
That
potentially could if, something happens to Tannehill or if he just bombs
when
into
Ryan
training camp
Tannehill
as
gets hurts again,
yeah, so because they have now the prospect of Will Levis or, maybe even Malik Willis if he somehow learns how to pass a football
now
to
they hate
like
Malik Willis for
yeah,
no
they
reason. They
hate
hate
him
Malik
now.
Willis because they made him start early when he wasn't ready, and like this guy sucks. And
It's
then the
not
one
even as
person who
well. That would be a great trade candidate to the Ravens if they want someone other than Tyler Huntley. I mean, that's just me. If I'm the Ravens, I'd go ask for him if possible. I
we'll
don't know.
see.
Yeah.
I'm just glad that the Ravens traded. They traded for a backup. They don't need to start a quarterback anymore. Glad that they got Lamar
Yeah.
sorted out. So
Yeah, but if he gets hurt again, that's the perfect like project quarterback for that offense. That's just me like being me. But yeah, different offense is not it's not freaking Greg Roman anymore. So shit, fair enough.
yeah, I mean, just even Huntley with Todd Monken and better receivers. I think he can cook more.
Yeah,
But
exactly. But I would
yeah, I
rather
guess, man.
I want Malik Will. He was my favorite quarterback last year in that class. So just to see
Yeah,
him
I
like kind of
hate.
be thrown in too early.
It's the same thing with
So
Anthony Richardson, man. It's like I hate having to watch quarterbacks I want to do well on teams I want them to fail for. So
yeah,
I have to root for their downfall. But
yeah.
hopefully in 2 years, Anthony Richardson gets traded and then he balls out or something, and then Jim Irsay is just
I think
like,
legit he has the best chance to succeed, like at least long term, just because of the tools that he has. I legit am a firm tools believer after Josh Allen decided to shit all over NFL off defenses for whatever reason.
man,
I
I
don't know how
just
that happened. Still
yeah,
don't
I
know how that
guess
happened.
probably like the last thing I'll talk about, like in terms of who I'm fearful of the most. Like I think Richardson has because I think like Shane Steichen, obviously people talk about Jalen Hurts, what he did. The fact that he can build a running offense from day one with Anthony Richardson, which I don't know if he'll
And with
start.
Jonathan Taylor, still, if he's healthy enough, that's still a viable. That's a scary offense if everything works out.
Maybe it'll be Jack Legend Minshew to start the year. I mean, I
Yeah, I
still don't.
forgot they could. Yeah, they could
The
do that.
receivers are like good. They're just like, oh, Pierce. No, Pierce can run a little bit. He burned Shaq Griffin on
Yeah.
his
Well,
first
that's Shaq
touchdown.
Griffin. That's Shaq
Yeah,
Griffin.
that's not saying much though.
Yeah.
But I guess like Richardson, I'm just like, dang, like I really have to root against him. He's such a fun
Yeah.
guy. And now
But
he's
the
on the team I
ceiling
hate
is
the
so
most.
sky high that
Yeah.
it's so exciting to see if he can succeed. And we have to
Just need
worry
him to
about him in the
succeed in
AC
like a
South.
different team. Like,
Yeah.
just why can why couldn't anybody else have traded up to 3 to take Richardson? Like I'm glad it wasn't the Titans, but like
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll
I
see,
mean,
man. I guess
yeah, maybe it would have been better if Richardson went to the Texans because he had Damian Pierce too, but he's also, like I said, it's just I don't know. It's all projecting now.
yeah, I mean probably I feel best about Richardson hitting. Stroud, I think he has a pretty high floor. I mean, we'll see like
But
how
what
much if
receivers is
Stroud
he
can
gonna
play.
throw to? Like the corpse
Uh,
of
they're
Brandon
gonna get
Cooks? Oh no, he got
nah.
moved, didn't
Brandon
he?
Cooks got traded,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I
So
said.
it's
Mechie
it's
and Nico Collins and I don't know who else was there,
they
honestly.
have Dalton Schultz, which isn't bad. I mean, I wasn't the biggest Mechie fan. Like he was a Bam receiver that like wasn't a first rounder for
But
a
also a
reason.
good story to kind of like follow him throughout next year.
Yeah, I can't hate on him too much because I don't
Yeah,
want people to make it seem like I
yeah.
hate on Mechie because everything he went through. I think he's okay. I mean, they have Houston's. I think they're building something. We'll see if that trade for Will Anderson bites. If their other first round pick is like very high, because I know that they traded the Texans first, not the Cleveland's first. So the only draft they get is based on Cleveland, who is I don't know how they'll play. Um, but I mean, yeah, Stroud and Will Anderson is a very good start. So I'm definitely keeping tabs on them. I
You
think
have to.
they
We're
might
gonna
finish
see them
second
twice a year.
this year,
Texans are gonna
but
finish second, I think, easily.
I don't know. It's like
Last place schedule. I mean, it just seems like it's the right. They have the most potential to get
they
back
have
up
the
on the right
most to go
trajectory.
up.
Yeah,
It's also just in terms, I think like the Titans, they're probably not going to be like I don't know. They're going to be annoying. They're going to be
yeah.
like they're probably going to have at least the same win total, if not a little bit higher from just being healthy.
But
I mean, they're
also they've also pissed off their stars like Byard, Henry.
yeah, their
Just
wide receiver
they're
core
in
is poop,
yeah, they're ground zero basically for like teams
but
that just blow it
they
up.
have they have Mike Vrabel, so he's going to will them
Want to
to like
compete. Yeah.
a top 10 defense somehow. So I don't know, man. We'll see about the rest of the division. I guess that about wraps it up. Hopefully next time we talk, there'll be more free agent news.
Yeah,
And
I
Ngakoue,
mean,
please.
yeah, I know. Please come back. Just like I said, I just said with Mia, he needs to take a picture of Tony Khan, which is doing like the wrestling handshake point thing. It'd just be like a great meme for Jaguars for just eat up,
It
just after
it
all the
would be
bullshit.
It will be kind of funny but messed up if like they didn't sign Smoot, but they re-signed Ngakoue, then Ngakoue has 91 back.
Yeah, I know, legit. You can just take the number back. I was just
I
like,
mean,
what?
yeah, Smoot's not on the roster now, so
Yeah, so
we'll
legit,
see,
you could
man.
just be like, hey, you want 91 again? And you could just dust off those jerseys somewhere, just buy one off
I
eBay for like
I
$30 and
know
be like, yeah,
Josh would be like happy. He's like, oh, I actually have another pass rusher next to me.
yeah. But yeah, Mia was alluding to it earlier that Ngakoue was praised by Josh Allen. Always came into work, put in the work. One of the hardest guys that he worked with, and he would love to have him back, honestly. Well,
We'll
I don't know if
see,
he wants to
man.
have him back, but like when he call, I will assume so because he's about to go into contract year 2, and if he has a very good pass rusher on the other side, on those pass rushing situations, just opens up things for him more.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully Josh can get
Produce,
to
yeah,
like.
double-digit
I
sacks.
mean,
Honestly, we just hope that he gets to that
my
double-digit
yeah,
mark.
yeah, my hope was like Josh and Trevon combined for even like 16. Like,
Yeah,
Trevon has like 6 and Josh has like 10. Not sexy numbers, but I think it's very reasonable. So I don't know, man. A lot to talk about. I need training camp to get here.
yeah.
I can't believe we're excited about the Jags.
It's fucking weird. Let's just embrace the madness that we're have expectations again for the first time since 2018.
Yeah, man. Well, it's been good talking to you as always.
All right, Javal. So what?
Hopefully training camp is like tomorrow. We like fast forward, but
I know.
and fingers pray that Eric Hallett, you are the starting nickel.
You just want someone to take that spot. I don't
If
blame you.
you can walk in watching Herndon play in the slot and not play that great, I don't say, yeah, this guy's gonna start again, Nick. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
It is
know.
the Jags, so it could happen, but we'll see, man. But
All
so
right,
great talking to you as
Javal.
always.
Thank you. Much
It's
love as
kind of bright
always.
out. It's kind of bright
Guys,
out
I
here, so
know
I'm sorry for the
I
sun.
got my little light there, so it makes my face look a little prettier. But
Yeah,
thank you everyone for watching again. It's a weird end this the weird end to the show, but we'll talk again probably around training camp or if anything interesting happens, maybe Yannick Ngakoue, hopefully a Buda Baker. But like just something for this defense, something. We'll just manifest it right now. Or do we
one more
usually cut
addition
things
on
out?
the defense.
I think that'd be great, you know? Maybe
We'll see,
DeAndre, like
man. We'll
maybe
see.
it's DeAndre Hopkins, even like I don't know. They can move with the Cardinals. Basically, is all I'm
You
saying.
want a Parker Washington backup?
Oh, fuck's sake. Okay, yeah, fair enough. All right, Javal, have a good night. Thank you. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Still working on the YouTube stuff since I haven't done this in a while. And yeah, have a good rest of your night, guys. Thank you.